Part 97. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 971. At this time, Wu Yu and others were plunged into the golden ocean. The ancient demon lake seemed to have disappeared, and golden liquid was everywhere. He held Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi with his left and right hands, and could feel their exist. Together with Wu Yu, they were driven by the golden sea water. Unable to control his body, he went in an unknown direction. He also heard the screams of many demons around him. Huangzun made a mistake this time. He originally wanted to bring 6 demon lords with him, but as soon as the door opened, we were all sucked in. There must have been at least thousands of demons. The one who was standing near the golden eyes at that time, basically all the top old demons and demon kings, including us, Nanshan Wanjiao said excitedly. When Huangzun refused to let others in, he was very disappointed and wanted to leave directly. At this time, I felt like I had survived a desperate situation, so I was naturally very excited. Wu Yu said, "It is true that many people have come in. However, don't be too happy. Not to mention that this place is mysterious and dangerous, and Huangzun and other demons definitely don't want us to take away anything. What's next? Be extremely careful not to separate." He also heard the voices of many demons around him. Now that his vision was almost completely blocked, he could only hear the shouts of demons. "Everyone, calm down, don't make any noise." When Huangzun's majestic voice suppressed the demons, the excited or panicked demons became a little quieter. However, the golden sea water around them was indeed strange, so at this time my heart is hanging. The same goes for Wu Yu. He patrolled the surroundings vigilantly. Just after the Phoenix Lord's voice disappeared, another voice sounded in the golden ocean, and this voice was even older. It seemed to come from an extremely far away place, but it was very clear. Every word in that voice has a shocking feeling. After listening, Wu Yu and others were still in shock. "Welcome, friends, to my heavenly demon emperor's mansion. Let me introduce myself. I am the demon golden-eyed ancient demon. My world is the ancient demon world. I don't know if there are rare demons like me in your era. It's a pity that I don't can carry on the family line. But it doesn't matter. After all, even if I become a demon god, I may not be able to escape life and death. When I am dying, I will leave the 2 greatest treasures in my life in this demon emperor's mansion. I have set up 3 very interesting tests for the intruders. Next, it depends on everyone's ability. Who can get my golden-eyed ancient demon, but I can't see it? Ah! To be honest, there were countless demons and monsters who wanted these 2 treasures of mine. They are very precious, very precious. Who can get them and become an immortal or a demon god, that's no problem. But, my 3 the Tao test will also be very, very interesting. If there are so many people and no one can pass it, then I'm sorry, the heavenly demon emperor's mansion will disappear again, and it will take at least 10,000 years before it will continue to appear, hee. The 3 tests are very interesting. At this point, the sound stopped. It can be heard that this is of course the voice of the master of the demon emperor's mansion today. He is a kind of demon called the golden-eyed ancient demon. Not only has Wu Yu never heard of this kind of demon, but also with Ming Long's knowledge, he has not heard of it. She heard that, and she didn't know what era this demon emperor's mansion was in. This ancient golden-eyed demon may seem like a chatterbox, but having a place like the heavenly demon emperor's mansion is definitely not simple. From his description of his 2 treasures, he said that once he gets them, it won't be a problem for him to become an immortal or a demon god. Then what realm is he? If he is a demon god, how can his inheritance be in the human world? Nanshan Wanjiao said a little excitedly. Not only was he excited, but after listening, all the demons seemed to be excited, and Wu Yu heard their restless heartbeats. For a time, it was difficult for all the demons to calm down. Could this be the inheritance left by the demon god? Then his two treasures are so precious, many demons discussed excitedly. I don't know, maybe it is possible. After all, the demon emperor's mansion is not simple from the outside. Although it is a demon god, it is possible that he will appear in our human world. If he is really a demon god, why did he die? Didn't it mean that after becoming a demon god, he would live forever? Did he probably die at the hands of a stronger demon god? Or a god? Even with Xuanhuan around, they were a little selfless when discussing. What are the three tests he mentioned? Have they started? Will we die? If no one can pass the test, then the heavenly demon emperor's mansion will disappear. This is quite nerve-wracking. Wu Yu couldn't see the Phoenix Master, so he didn't know what she would think when she heard these sounds. At least Wu Yu felt that there were many doubts. I don't know what era this golden-eyed ancient demon is from. Maybe it's really a demon god. At this time, people long for him to be a demon god. If so, then this is the inheritance of the demon god. That is equivalent to the inheritance of an immortal. Wu Yu naturally knew the importance of this. If so, this is a rare relic found in the entire Jambu world for countless thousands of years. Did you hear that he said that my world is the ancient demon world? What does this mean? Wu Yu asked doubtfully. I don't know. Does it mean that he has a Taoist space called the ancient demon world? Wu Yu could only understand it this way, maybe it was a place similar to the Taoist demon palace. He has been emphasizing these three tests. Obviously, this will not be easy. Everyone should be careful and alert, Wu Yu reminded. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. To be honest, the inheritance of the demon god, 2 treasures, and 3 tests, these words also made him excited, but also full of awe. Now the demons are crazy. All demons want to become the demon god and want to get the 2 treasures. They even forget that even if they get the treasures, they will probably be taken away by Xuanhuan. In front of the treasures, many people will lose their minds. Wu Yu felt that a manic atmosphere was already spreading. However, even he himself couldn't help it. He was the one who got the inheritance of the immortal. He knew how precious the demon god's ruins were. He also longed for the 2 treasures. Moreover, he was also reluctant to let the enemy get a similar inheritance as his own. The more precious the treasure, the more people will naturally fall into impatience and desire. There were heavy breathing sounds all around, and many people were still discussing incoherently. In the Golden Ocean, the atmosphere became more and more violent. Everyone forgot that before the golden-eyed ancient demons spoke, the Golden Ocean had stopped pushing them, and they had been staying there for a while. Be calm, be cool, Wu Yu gritted his teeth and kept reminding himself. I found that the sound just now actually had a psychedelic effect. After we heard it, we were all a little impatient. Nanshan Wanjiao was proficient in this, and hurriedly told Wu Yu at this time. So that's it, Wu Yu slowly exhaled. He calmed down a little, but the demons around him became more agitated. Wu Yu wanted to think about whether the 3 tests had begun, but suddenly, for some reason, the feeling in his hand was fading. Just when he subconsciously wanted to grab Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi, his palm suddenly became empty, and everything disappeared. Nanshan! Zixi, Wu Yu exclaimed, but at this moment, in the Golden Ocean, the 2 disappeared instantly. Of course, the voices of the surrounding demons naturally disappeared. For a moment, it seemed that everything was disappearing. He suddenly found that his head really hurt, which made him unable to help but touch his head. But this moment was the real moment of dizziness. With a heavy head and light feet, he held his head and endured the pain. But he felt unstable and could even hear his own difficult breathing. This situation was actually quite rare for him now. What is going on? Has the test started? Test? What test? Wu Yu was stunned. In the stabbing pain in his head, he suddenly forgot what test he was going through. Thinking carefully, his mind was blank, with only stabbing pain and weakness. He had never felt that his body would be so fragile. It was very cold around him. He sat down on the ground, trembling all over. He clearly felt that his clothes were very thin, but he was very confused. How could he feel cold because of his thin clothes? Just when he was extremely weak, he heard a harsh sound in his ear. It was this sound that made him open his eyes, and it was a little less blurry. It seemed that someone was shouting and cursing. Wu Yu. As the crown prince of the current dynasty, you actually did such a treasonous and immoral thing. You are the shame of my Dongyu kingdom for thousands of years. My Dongyu kingdom's 10,000-year reputation has been destroyed in your hands. If the late emperor were alive, if he knew that you had such a beastly behavior, he would be angry to death by you. Open your eyes. Wu Yu saw a disheveled woman sitting on the other side of the bed. Her face was extremely charming and touching. The tattered clothes could not hide her white and delicate snow-white skin. The messy long hair scattered on the white chest made her look even more touching. Who is this? Wu Yu remembered that there was this person, but he couldn't remember who this person was. Wow! A basin of ice water was poured on his head. Wu Yu woke up and found himself lying on the cold floor. As expected, he was naked. There were people everywhere around him, and there were vicious, disappointed, and disgusting eyes everywhere. 11 Fei. Wu Yu finally remembered this person in the cold. He was struck by a bolt from the blue, staring at the naked woman in front of him. The cold water finally sobered him up a little, and many vague but still real memories emerged. He remembered that he was taking Nangong Way and wanted to quickly escape back to the Yanhuang ancient domain, but he encountered the six-armed demon ape on the way. In order to protect Nangong Way, he suffered a heavy blow from the six-armed demon ape and seemed a little unconscious. But after waking up, how could he be here? Here is the Dongguo Palace. In front of him is a scene so familiar in memory. The key is that he is empty. This terrible weakness seems to have lost everything, and it seems that it has always been like this, and he has never had everything. What's going on? Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 972. Suqiao Palace. The appearance of these princes and ministers in front of him had long been forgotten by Wu Yu. But now, it is so clear that all the furnishings in this palace have the flavor of Suqiao Palace. He was surrounded by people, and everyone looked at him with hateful eyes, feeling extremely disappointed. But what frightened Wu Yu the most was that the powerful feeling he had in the past was so far away from him now. He found that he had no abilities at all. His body was completely just immortal. He only had very simple martial arts power and could only let himself walking as fast as flying. He couldn't feel all the Zifu Yuan power, any Taoist magic power. It was also blurry, as if it had never really existed. All memories about the monastic life have been completely forgotten. Even all the experiences and people I have met are particularly blurry at this time. This is a terrifying weakness that brings unprecedented fear. The sense of security is completely gone. This sense of reality doesn't seem fake at all. But Wu Yu's mind was extremely confused now. How could this happen? What happened? Am I dead or am I back to the starting point? Wu Yu looked at all this blankly. All memories ended on the day when I encountered the six-armed demon ape. In the impression, he should be dead. But after death, how could he appear at this moment? Is it a flashback? His mind was now blank. Is Immortal Haoshan coming next? Wu Yu struggled to stand up amidst the insults from the ministers and looked outside the door. At this time, snowflakes were flying outside, and it turned out to be winter. Please ask Immortal Haoshan. Sure enough, this sentence appeared clearly in my memory before my eyes. Amidst the heavy snowfall, a fairy-like figure landed. He wore a snow-white Taoist robe with many Bagua patterns on it. He held a whisk in his hand to keep evil spirits away. His eyes were as bright as stars, and all the evil in the world could not escape his eyes. Seeing him again, Wu Yu was not as angry as last time. He just looked blankly at the Haotian immortal, watching him give himself the 100 soul again in a sanctimonious tone. In this cold night, under the disgusted and contemptuous eyes of the princes and ministers, Wu Yu was forced to take the soul-breaking powder. His already fragile mortal body fell to the lowest point in an instant, as if he would die at any time. Is this a dream? What on earth is it? Between trance and pain, Wu Yu was taken into the prison car. On this snowy night, the prison car rolled away from the palace and headed towards the border. Wu Yu fell weakly in the prison car, his limbs shaking and his face pale. Snowflakes fell on him and on his head, making him pale for several years. Sister, Wu Yu remembered that she would appear when he left the palace in his memory. To be honest, Wu Yu hasn't looked at her for a long time, and even today, she feels a little missed. Sure enough, on that snowy night, a delicate woman with tears in her eyes and panic on her face ran after the prison car, but she couldn't keep up at all. Wu Yu could only watch her go away. Sister. Wu Yu felt a sad feeling in his heart. He lay helplessly on the bumpy prison car, looking at the sky, and fell into deep thought. Am I already dead? Am I going to experience what I have experienced now? If so, when will it end? If that's the case, then everything won't be so real. He tried his best to stroke the wooden pole of the prison car, and he could even feel the roughness on it. He picked up some snowflakes and put them in his mouth. This cold feeling cannot be false in the slightest. Perhaps, this is not a dream, not a flashback, but my life, starting over. This thought made me a little scared. He came out of the Suqiao Palace and experienced countless lives and deaths. When he finally arrived at Nanyan Demon Continent, he was already very powerful. That's been several years. He feels that these experiences are wonderful and exciting. However, if you had to walk it all over again, you might just be afraid. He couldn't help but wonder, would he have to experience the death of Sun Wuodao again and another fight with the heaven-devouring demon ancestor? If he did it again, he was really not sure that he would be able to reach the previous height. Originally, he was just slightly suspicious, and everything started again. But time gradually passed, and he was still half dead in the prison car, getting weaker and weaker. The longer the time passed, the less likely it was that he would have a chance to shine before his death. Until the snake demon Wan Qing appeared in a deserted forest, Wu Yu stood up and watched her kill the soldiers one by one. Maybe in the past, she was angry and scared at this moment, but now, he showed a bitter smile. After all, in his memory, Wan Qing had been dead for a long time, and she was the most important person in his life. A small role. Standing here again, he certainly wouldn't be as scared as before. Wan Qing, I know when you died, believe it or not. Wu Yu showed a wry smile. How do you know I am Wanking? The snake demon turned into a human form in fear. What she said was different from last time, maybe because Wu Yu said it first. Wu Yu was in a complicated mood. He shook his head and smiled, saying, I don't know either, but I just know everything that will happen in the future. Today, I will not die, but will have great fortune. I think you've taken Duan Hunsen and you're already stupid, Wan Qing said with a grim smile. She still took action immediately, without giving Wu Yu the slightest chance to breathe. That's not true. I also know that my father was also killed by you. Wu Yu still didn't change his tone at all when she took action. This is the picture in his memory, but because he already knew everything, the picture is slightly different. Last time, Wan Qing took the initiative to say it, but this time, Wu Yu disrupted her rhythm and spoke first. Wan Qingzheng remembered that he had not said that, so he was a little surprised at this time and stopped attacking. How do you know? Wu Yu estimated the time, and in his memory, the person who gave him a chance to be reborn, Feng Shui, was about to appear. Evil beast. Sure enough, a golden sword light came. Wan Qing's expression changed and he quickly ran away. She had already noticed the ascetic's arrival at this time. Wu Yu remembered that there was a big river nearby. In his memory, Wan Qing hid in it to get a chance to survive. Tear. Sure enough, Wan Qing panicked and hid over there. Don't leave. When Wan Qing disappeared, the golden light immediately chased after him. Wu Yu looked up. In an instant, he saw a scene that made him feel a little stiff. Wan Qing was killed by Feng Shui. The big green snake was dying. It was precisely because Wu Yu said strange words that attracted Wan Qing and made her leave slowly. So he was killed on the spot. However, Wu Yu clearly remembered that he was the one who killed her in the end. Memory and reality are different for the first time. This made Wu Yu tremble in his heart. What is his current reality? Is it a flashback before death, or is it starting over with memories, and under the influence of something, returning to the starting point of life? But, why do you remember the things that happened, but forget all about the magic of divine passages, and the indestructible body of Vajra, and the great celestial magic? This was hard for Wu Yu to figure out. If I can live the life I have lived over again without leaving any regrets, can I still be the same as in my memory? Wu Yu was very confused. Life is life. There is no comparison between going through it once and repeating it a second time. He didn't have time to think anymore. If he missed what was in front of him, he would not be able to go to the Bibo Mountains. If he had not gone to the Bibo Mountains, he would not have met Sun Wuodeo, let alone get the Ruyi golden cudgel. Therefore, when the snowy cliff broke the prison car, Wu Yu quickly fully displayed the scene in his memory. Even though he was still severely injured and weak, Wu Yu still stumbled out of the prison car. Even if he climbed, he had to climb in front of the immortal. He kowtowed several times and said with all his strength, "Immortal, superior immortal. My name is Wu Yu. I am the crown prince of Wu Kingdom in Dongyu. I was framed and fell here. Please accept me as your disciple." This is what he did then and he is doing it again now. Accept me as your disciple. I will spend my whole life repaying your kindness. Master. Disciple Wu Yu, I bow to my master and swear here that I will respect my master throughout my life and repay the kindness of immortals. He was full of expectations. He knew that there was no room for error this time, and he must let Feng Shui take him back to the Bibo Mountains. You are dead, but I, Feng Shui, don't want to interfere in mortal matters. That's all. I'll let you go to my immortal sect and work as a handyman for Yan Li. After hearing this, Wu Yu finally smiled. Once again he succeeded. If I really have a chance to come back, I must get the Ruyi golden cudgel. Now that I have completed the first step, all I need to do next is meet Uncle Sunday. Wu Yu is now very eager to meet Sun Wuodeo. There were so many regrets back then. When he died, it was the biggest blow in Wu Yu's life. Then, can I keep Uncle Sun by my side on the day he dies, so that he will not die in Situjin's hands? When Feng Xiaojian took him across the Green Mountains, Wu Yu thought of the most important thing. Sun Wuodeo was the biggest regret in his life. He had many doubts and wanted to find out from him. He also wanted to know who he was. What does he have to do with the Ruyi golden cudgel? Before, I had no chance to ask him. Now, although it is inexplicable, the opportunity seems to have come. He had always been in a confused mood, but now he suddenly had a goal, which made him very excited. No matter what the situation is, at least I can still see Uncle Sun, at least this time, so that he doesn't die. Naturally, he wanted to let that regret never happen again. This plot is going to be interesting, it's definitely not that simple. I don't know if you all play live broadcasts. Sometimes I feel that coding is a bit boring. Today I suddenly want to live broadcast coding. Is there anything you want to watch? In my imagination, while typing, I occasionally see people praising the madman's handsomeness. It seems quite interesting. At least typing won't be so boring. Book lovers, you can also chat via barrage. Let's give it a try for the time being. The madman is coding now and sharing my daily life with my brothers. Everyone downloads a software called on their mobile phones and searches. Find the one with the cover of TNTNG and click in to see the crazy code words. I finished writing it since I was late, haha. Don't pay attention to my appearance. After all, we are not selling handsomeness, we are selling talent, haha. Remember to follow me. If anyone wants to watch, I will often live stream and write. If there are beauties in the background, please ignore them. The fastest update website for this book is yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 973. After taking Duan Hunsen, he was still too weak after all. Even with the support of a huge desire, Wu Yu still fell into a coma during the leap with his sword. In the blur, he vaguely heard the sound of heavy footsteps. The sound woke Wu Yu up instantly. He suddenly sat up. Next to the bed in the wooden house, Wu Yu saw Sun Wuodao. With a stooped figure, a peaceful face, a bit of a stubborn streak, and deep eyes, this is exactly who Wu Yu remembers most. When we met again, he was exactly the same as before. Uncle Sun. Wu Yu couldn't bear the excitement and even forgot that the two of them didn't know each other at this time, so he called him directly. Sun Wuodao frowned slightly and said, "How do you know my surname is Sunday?" Wu Yu didn't know how to answer. No matter how prosperous he was in the past, seeing him now, Wu Yu still felt like he was back when he was a boy. He respected Sun Wuodao immensely. Sun Wuodao didn't pay much attention to the matter. He walked into the side room and soon brought a bowl of medicine to Wu Yu and said, "Drink it. We have to do something later." Okay. Wu Yu endured the physical discomfort. In fact, at this time, he was drinking medicine with tears in his eyes. This is the immortal section. Since you are here, you have to stay here for the rest of your life. If you want to live here, you must know the rules of the immortal section. When you are assigned to me, you must work hard and talk less. Obey the rules and don't cause any trouble for me. Sun Wuodao said the most familiar words deep in Wu Yu's memory. It was he who made Wu Yu understand that his current status was that of a handyman. Yes, I understand, I will definitely do it well. Wu Yu nodded seriously. At this time, he saw the Ruyi golden cudgel hanging around Sun Wuodao's neck, which gave him a mixed feeling. I must get it so that I can. Although he was not sure what the situation was now, his intuition told him that if he lost the Ruyi golden cudgel, he would be in trouble. Seeing that you are quite honest, please call me Uncle Sun from now on. What is your name? Wu Yu. Although there were some slight differences, in general, it was similar to the original meeting. Although Sun Wuodao was strict, he was still very complicated and told Wu Yu the precautions of the immortal sect. This is the Tongtian sword sect. In my memory, I haven't come back for a long time. Sun Wuodao was introducing and emphasizing, but Wu Yu didn't listen much. His eyes kept falling on Sun Wuodao. For him, Sun Wuodao at this moment was the most important. On the way, he also saw Su Yanli, and Sun Wuodao reminded himself not to look too much. Except for himself, everything was exactly the same as usual. After arriving at the fairy beast garden, he met Zhao Chuan and the others. Although these little people were still mocking him, Wu Yu didn't pay attention to them. After experiencing the initial shock, he has calmed down a little now. He knows that Situjin will come next and everything will happen. Just tonight, he will get the Ruyi golden cudgel. As long as I have the Ruyi golden cudgel and the beginning of everything, no matter what the situation is now, whether there is a chance to come back after death, I will get this capital. Otherwise, the next step will be troublesome. The most puzzling thing now is that he doesn't know what he is going through. He looked at the Ruyi golden cudgel on Xuanhuan from time to time. He didn't know why, but he was a little nervous at this moment. It was better that I didn't know anything at the time. I got the Ruyi golden cudgel. Now that I know it, I feel nervous. The closer we get to Situjin's arrival, the more nervous we feel. Finally, when this group of people arrived, Wu Yu now remembered Situjin's name, and he had forgotten all the others. In the past, he was in awe of this group of people, but now, these people are just ants to him. The only reason he feels they are important is because their appearance will help him get the Ruyi golden cudgel. Under the odd eyes of a group of handymen, Situjin and the others went to find Su Yanli to ask for immortal magic. While Wu Yu was working, he was talking to Sun Wuodeo. This was a long-lost feeling of intimacy. After finishing the work as before, they lie on the bluestone slab. Wu Yu, like last time, told Uncle Sun about his experience. Sun Wuodeo began to sympathize with him. "My child, forget what happened before. Come to these blue mountains, put away your past grudges, and concentrate on your work. Maybe you will be pitied by the Immortals. If they can give you some immortal spirits, you maybe the poison of Duan Hunsen can be cured, and when the time comes, you will have the opportunity to practice, and maybe you will have a future, and you can even be the leader of the handymen," Sun Wuodeo said. Although he seems a bit harsh, he actually cares about Wu Yu and is trying to find a way out for Wu Yu. However, he seems to be just an ordinary kind old man and has nothing to do with the Monkey King. To be honest, Wu Yu really wanted to ask him if he was related to the Monkey King. Of course, this was something he couldn't ask, especially before he got the Ruyi golden cudgel. He looked up the mountain from time to time, feeling more and more nervous. When Situjin and the others came down, there would be a conflict. That would be the biggest opportunity for him to get the Ruyi golden cudgel. The closer that time comes, the more nervous Wu Yu becomes. He knows that in his memory, he is not nervous at this time. This feeling of knowing what will happen is wonderful to think about, but to actually experience it, that kind of mysterious feeling, the feeling of destiny, is really terrifying. Why are you a little nervous? As long as you work hard, the immortal will not punish you. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Sun Wuodeo reminded. Yeah, got it? He restrained himself a little, but he was still paying attention there, which was uncontrollable. Finally, Situjin and the others came out. Wu Yu watched closely as they returned to the fairy beast garden. Then, just as fate had planned, something went wrong with one of the cranes. Zhao Chuan and the others blamed Sun. Situjin was angry when Wuodeo came, and his anger poured out on Sun Wuodeo and Wu Yu. "It's none of his business, it was all my fault." Wu Yu endured the severe pain. This was in memory and he had to finish it. This mood is completely different from last time. "You have the nerve to pretend to be a hero in front of me." Situjin's face was cold. He raised the iron whip again and whipped Wu Yu. This time, Wu Yu could clearly see the trajectory of the whip, heading towards on my own forehead. I remember that it was this whip that shattered Wu Yu's skull. Then he fell into a coma on the verge of death, and finally dreamed of the Ruyi golden cudgel. The feeling of death, so close. This moment may be the most critical moment. However, when the long whip arrived, Wu Yu subconsciously made some moves. After all, the many experiences in his memory allowed him to avoid death many times. When facing death, especially knowing the premise of death. Next, he made a life-saving move. He knew the direction of Situjin's whip in advance, and he was afraid of the feeling of having his head shattered. Especially since he knew before this that his skull would shatter. Crack. This whip broke his arm, and then hit his head. Wu Yu didn't know if he succeeded. His subconscious action just now shocked him. But fortunately, he felt that he might still be dead. After all, the light his arms couldn't stop Situjin's whip. He finally got what he wanted, and at this point he fell into coma, or died. In his memory, Sun Wudao would bury him and give him the sacred iron at the bottom of Tianhe town. The whole world was dim at this time. Before his consciousness disappeared, Sun Wudao had tears in his eyes when he fell to the ground. Well, there was a bit of tearing pain in his head. As soon as he regained some consciousness, Wu Yu grimaced in pain, as if dozens of needles had been inserted into his head. Heartbreaking. He took a breath of air, struggled, and endured the severe pain to open his eyes. Wooden house. He lay down where he had last woken up. My body is fine, but the most terrifying thing is the stinging pain in my head. It still seems to be in a torn state, and my thinking is completely confused. He could feel it with his hands. He was now wrapped in gauze, and the gauze was still stained with blood. He saw that even his fingers were pale white, which meant that he had lost a lot of blood. He looked at the wooden house blankly, then remembered that this was Sun Wudao's wooden house. Are you going to see Uncle Sun right away and then go to the fairy beast garden? Wu Yu remembered that he seemed to have arrived in the Bibo Mountains. However, at this moment, his head hurt even more, and he felt like he was suffocating, because he remembered that he seemed to have been to the fairy beast garden, met Situjin, and seemed to have been hit by Situjin. Where's the golden cudgel? Where's the golden cudgel? His expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly checked his body, but he couldn't find the Ruyi golden cudgel at all. I didn't dream about that Ruyi golden cudgel at all. Terrible, terrible. The Ruyi golden cudgel was extremely important to him. He never thought that he did not see the Ruyi golden cudgel in his dream, but woke up directly in this wooden house. Wu Yu finally realized what horror is. He has not got the Ruyi golden cudgel now, which means that if he continues to survive and loses the Ruyi golden cudgel, then he will be nothing. It's an inner disaster. Wu Yu struggled weakly on the bed, his heart sinking into ice. Although his head was stinging, his heart was even colder. Are you awake? Suddenly, Sun Wudao came in from outside the door. He must have been working for a day and was very tired. However, after coming in, he still sat next to Wu Yu and sighed, "Thank you very much. If you hadn't blocked it for me, I would have been dead." He looked at Wu Yu with regret. However, Wu Yu's focus was not gratitude at all. The immortal Xuanhuan, who was alarmed this time, gave you the fairy spirit to save your life. You are lucky, you didn't die. It turned out that maybe it was because he blocked it with his arm, and he didn't die. Then Xuanhuan gave him the fairy spirit, so he was not buried. At this time, he saw the Ruyi golden cudgel on Sun Wudao. It was not special at all. It looked like just a piece of scrap metal. However, at this moment, he realized that he was so far away from him. The live broadcast is over. You can watch the replay at this time. If it is interesting, I will play it again. For the fastest updated website of this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 974. There is no more death, he was saved, no more dreams, no more golden cudgel. Without the Ruyi golden cudgel, his body was destructively damaged by the Xuanhuan powder and was not repaired. Today, Wu Yu is still lingering on. Without the golden cudgel, there would be no indestructible body, let alone great celestial arts, not to mention magical powers and the 72 transformations. Minglong will never appear either. In other words, the opportunity for Wu Yu's rise is completely gone. On the one hand, it is the fear of this inexplicable reality. This real scene is like a vast ocean. Wu Yu is just a mortal at this time. The Ruyi golden cudgel is his only life-saving straw, but now this life-saving straw is all gone. He did not appear, and he sank like a mortal in the sea. Dark water was everywhere, making it difficult to breathe, and death and fear all came to him. "Uncle Sun, can you let me take a look at this thing?" Wu Yu endured the severe pain in his head, struggled to stand up, and said to Sun Wuodeo with a somewhat dry mouth. It's passed down from my ancestors. It's called Tianhe Town's divine precious iron. You have to take good care of it and don't let me break it." Sun Wuodeo probably saw that he saved his life. "Now much kinder." Definitely. Wu Yu nervously and excitedly caught the sacred iron at the bottom of Tianhe Town from his hand, his tentacles were cold. "The Immortal has given you 10 days to recuperate. After 10 days, you must continue to work with me in the Immortal Beast Garden. I think you are still injured, so hurry up and recover. I will go to work first." After Sun Wuodeo finished speaking, he hunched his back and went out after a while. This time Wu Yu was waiting for him to leave. After he left, Wu Yu leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was extremely nervous. He held Gentai, the god of the river town, with both hands and glared, watching with big eyes. The great sage equaling heaven, fighting and defeating the Buddha, the Ruyi golden cudgel. "I am Wu Yu, please teach me the indestructible body of Vajra. I don't know what went wrong. It shouldn't have happened. Let me transform at this time. Is it?" He squeezed hard with his fingers, but what made his patience gradually disappear was that Gentai, the bottom god of Heijin that day, didn't react at all. "Why? What's the problem? Why don't you choose me? Is it not time? Or am I not doing a good job? Or am I not communicating well?" His face was even paler at the moment, and there were big beads of sweat on his forehead. He didn't know when he couldn't breathe at all. His head was still tingling, and it felt like it was about to be torn apart at any time. Wu Yu looked through the memories he had. "I never thought I would be so scared." In his memory, he also recalled how his life would have changed if he had not received the inheritance of the Monkey King. At that time, he concluded that no matter how tenacious his will was, no matter how smart he was, he would rather die than surrender. That is useless. It is the most important opportunity in life. If it is missing, then he must be immortal, living in the Blue Mountains for the rest of his life. There will definitely be no chance of rising. The original thought would also be a huge blow to myself at this moment. No, I have to calm down. I still have a chance. If I am so reckless, it must not be willing to communicate with me. It must need an opportunity. Wu Yu took a deep breath, wiped the cold sweat from his head, and tried to calm down, but even so, the fear of falling into the deep sea could not be driven away. "Great sage, I don't know why this is happening. I remember that in my memory, I had obtained the indestructible body at this time. Is it because when Situjin attacked me, I subconsciously blocked it? Is it because there was no "Are you going to die?" Wu Yu thought, if he dies and Sun Wuodeo buries this thing to him, then he can get the immortal inheritance. But what if Uncle Sun didn't bury the Ruyi golden cudgel for me this time? Wu Yu had to consider this issue. Because many actions are determined by the thoughts at the time. It would be too risky to commit suicide this time. Although the golden cudgel was in his hand, he couldn't feel its temperature at all. The coldness froze Wu Yu's heart. What on earth is going to happen? In my memory, I have never been so flustered as today. While I was flustered, my head was still tingling. I was probably killed by the six-armed demon ape, but maybe it was the Ruyi golden cudgel that made everything happen again and allowed me to start over. Maybe the golden cudgel has such power. But, I can't get it. The more Wu Yu thought about it, the more depressed he became. He tried all kinds of methods in this wooden house, either bleeding or saying all kinds of good things, but it was useless. There was no response from the Ruyi golden cudgel. It's cold from beginning to end. Despair strikes again and again. At night, Sun Wudao came back. Seeing that Wu Yu looked haggard, he stayed up with ginseng soup for another night. In this fairy land of blue waves and mountains, there were a lot of wild ginseng on the mountains. Why, do you miss your palace? You still want to be a prince? Those days are in the past, Sun Wudao said while sitting beside the bed. Uncle Sun, can I see this golden hoop, for a few more days? Wu Yu asked quickly after taking the medicine. What's so interesting about this thing? There's nothing. Sun Wudao was a little surprised. However, seeing Wu Yu's sincere affection, he nodded and said, okay, take it and return it to me at any time. To be honest, my grandson's family has lost its incest in my generation. This family heirloom has been passed down to my generation, and no one can pass it on. It is fate that you and I can get along here day and night. For the sake of it, just call me Uncle Sun and I'll give it to you, but you have to promise me something. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. After hearing this, Wu Yu's hope ignited, and he quickly asked, I can do whatever Uncle Sun wants. Sun Wudao said, in the future, after 100 years, you will continue to pass on this precious iron at the bottom of Tianhe town. If you give birth to a child, you must continue to pass it on, but don't let this treasure go to the ground. It's natural. No problem, of course. Wu Yu doesn't care about hundreds of years now. He just wants to get the immortal inheritance quickly. With this inheritance, everything will be easy. Without this inheritance, this life will be completely ruined. It was impossible for him to keep Sun Wudao alive. At night, Sun Wudao made a fire to cook without letting Wu Yu do anything. After an old man and a young man had a simple dinner on a small table, Sun Wudao washed the dishes and went to bed early. Wu Yu slept on the window seat. Position: outside the window is the bright moonlight, looking at the huge night sky, the incomparably vast world, thinking of the world of Jambudvipa, so huge. And in this small place, he walked as fast as an ant crawling, and that small feeling of fear came over again. No, I must get the approval of the golden cudgel. Otherwise, I won't be able to save Wu Yu. Wu Yu will be married to that ghost cultivator from the East China Sea in a while. He knew that in his memory, Wu Yu's attitude was very firm. He wanted her to get married, but she would never agree and would force her to die. With her temper, she is definitely dead. Sun Wudao would no longer be hated by Situjian, but at his age, he wouldn't live long. In the future, the 9 immortals will appear, the Tongtian sword sect will be destroyed, and Feng Shui, Su Yanli and the others will definitely die miserably. Let's talk about the future. It is too far away for him. If there is no immortal inheritance, he will not even be qualified to talk to Nangongwei and the others. It is impossible for them to meet Luo Bin, Yanhuang ancient territory and Nanyan demon. There is no need to think about it. Zhuying, Nanshan Wanjiao, and Yexi are all invisible. It is impossible to know them in this life. The more Wu Yu thought, the more terrifying the fear in his heart became. He seemed to be surrounded by countless ferocious beasts. Every thought was now a ferocious beast that wanted to devour him. Golden cudgel. Wu Yu quickly took out the golden hoop and placed it under the moonlight. Under the night sky, he once again used various methods, including committing suicide, but it just didn't work. The golden cudgel didn't respond at all, but in his mind Nangongwei, Luo Bin, Nanshan Wanjiao, Yezixi and the others, there were also Feng Shui, Wu Yu and others who kept passing by, which made Wu Yu feel more and more impatient. He saw a wood chopping knife in the corner. That knife was shiny and very translucent. It seemed that it did not exist in Wu Yu's memory, but it was possible that he could not remember it clearly. That's right, now Uncle Sun has given me this golden hoop. If I hide it on my body and then commit suicide, he will bury me, and then I will dream about Optimus Prime and get everything back on track. I want to start practicing, I want to develop the indestructible body, I want to become Feng Shui's disciple. I want to save my sister, I must not let her die, I want to kill the Haoshan immortal to take revenge. This feeling is so strong. This made him crawl out of bed and head towards the woodcutter step by step. Although his head still hurt, the fire of hope was burning and he couldn't stop. He hid the Ruyi golden cudgel and was ready to commit suicide. Although the distance was not far, it still took some time. At this time, Wu Yu's eyes were firm, he got the woodcutter and put it on his neck. A cold light shone on the woodcutter. Success must be put to death. He had the courage to commit suicide to survive. Otherwise, if he could not get the immortal inheritance, then life would be worse than death. He tightened his grip on the woodcutter, closed his eyes, showed a determined smile, and then wiped it hard. What are you doing? Suddenly, he was hit hard. He failed to commit suicide and was knocked to the ground. The woodcutter fell to the ground with a clang. At such a young age, you can't bear this setback, so you want to commit suicide. It turned out that Sun Wuodeo heard the noise, woke up, and stopped him. Uncle Sunday Wu Yu's mind was very confused at this time. He looked at Sun Wuodeo blankly, and saw the moon outside the window out of the corner of his eyes. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that the moon seemed to be a golden eye just now, but when he noticed it, it was a normal moon again. For the fastest updated website for this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 975. Sun Wuodeo was so anxious that he couldn't sleep, so he spoke a lot of truth to Wu Yu. He doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Monkey King, he just looks like an ordinary old man. That night, he said a lot of words to enlighten Wu Yu, and then he threw away all the suicide equipment in the wooden house, preventing Wu Yu from touching it. Actually, you are lucky to be brought to the immortal section, although Duan Hunsen has broken your foundation. Even if you don't practice, in this immortal mountain, you will have no illness or pain, and you can live for 70 or 80 years. It's not a problem, don't let your mind wander. Many dignitaries want to come here to work as handymen, but they don't have a chance. Uncle Sun, I know, there won't be a next time. Wu Yu had some tears in his eyes. Seeing the old man panicking for him again, this was a feeling he hadn't seen in a long time. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. I'm still too anxious and too risky. I only have 1 day left now. I have this golden cudgel, so I can take my time to think about it. I guess the Monkey King doesn't like me being too impatient. As long as I calm down, it must be possible if you communicate well. If you commit suicide, you might just die. After all, opportunities are very mysterious. Wu Yu finally calmed down after finding a reason to comfort himself. Of course, these were all helped by Sun Wuodeo. I don't know when Wu Yu fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, he found Sun Wuodeo standing beside the bed, sleeping against the edge of the bed. The old man had a stooped figure and was already very weak at his age. This scene couldn't help but bring tears to Wu Yu's eyes. I will definitely change my fate and let him live. And my sister? Sun Wuodeo's side is fine, but the key is Wu Yu's side, which especially makes Wu Yu conflicted. The ghost girl will definitely arrive on time. However, he failed to get the inheritance this time. Although he said he should calm down and communicate well next, but who knows when he will succeed. If it is too late, Wu Yu will be dead. Calm down, don't be impatient, and you may miss important things. Wu Yu kept warning himself. He thought clearly that suicide may not be a good method. Maybe he would finally have a chance to come back. But he committed suicide not long after he survived. That would be the biggest joke in the world. In the days that followed, while recuperating and trying to communicate with the golden cudgel, Wu Yu did not give up. Even if the golden cudgel didn't respond, he kept working hard and racking his brains, thinking of various ways. Every time he failed, he warned himself that he missed the best opportunity. It was not that easy, and he must not be impatient. He has 10 days to recuperate, and Sun Wudao will only come back at night, which will not affect Wu Yu. He was just an ordinary old man. When he came back every day, he was very pleased to see Wu Yu's positive attitude. A few days later, Wu Yu even prepared dinner for him when he came back. However, when these 10 days passed without any gains, Wu Yu's confidence fell silent again, and the depression and fear struck again, especially when thinking of Wu Yu's future. Every time under the night, the most magnificent world in the world at that time, he thought of the incomparably huge world of Jambudvipa, and he fell into despair again. Time is getting tighter and tighter. Am I destined to be immortal, miserable, and die in the deep mountains and wild forests for the rest of my life? With his current physical condition, it would be difficult for him to get out of Yan Lifeng. The bigger the world became, the more panicked he became, especially when he found himself gasping for breath after taking just a few steps. He was not allowed to control it. The 10 days had come and his head injury had almost recovered. Sun Wudao had already prepared him. On this day, in helplessness and despair, he arrived at the fairy beast garden with Sun Wudao. At this time, he was as lost as a walking corpse. He followed Sun Wudao to feed the cranes. They were all doing the hard work. Xuanhuan and the others were drinking wine, resting, and playing around. Normally, no other immortals come here. Basically, Sun Wudao is the one doing the work. The young and strong ones are all enjoying themselves. This boy was very tough last time, and he dared to contradict Xian. Haha, you're lucky. He's not dead. He was new here last time and didn't understand the rules. He must be coward now. Zhao Chuan narrowed his eyes and said contemptuously. Look at this guy, he's very weak. This old guy Sun Wudao won't live long. After this old guy dies, we will have new toys. Don't use the word plaything because it makes people think of girls. Oh, I really miss the girls in Fairy Garden. Boss Zhao, please help me. They admire you. Zhao Chuan coughed and said, put away your Huahua intestines. Those girls are also very high-minded. There are so many handymen in the Bibo Mountains, and the competition is also very high. Well, if you miss me, why don't you tease these two cowards? Everyone, look at me. A big man jumped up and walked towards Wu Yu and Sun Wudao. Wu Yu had an impression of him. This guy seemed to be him. On the day he killed Zhao Chuan, he was the first guy killed by his tiger roaring dragon fist. Hey, little loser, what's your name? The big man walked up to Wu Yu and looked down at Wu Yu, his eyes full of teasing and provocation. Wu Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him. After all, deep down, in his eyes, this person was an insignificant mortal. He had seen people like Yanhuang, ancient emperor, and at least in his memory, he would not take this person seriously. How dare you ignore me? The big man became angry. Without saying a word, the big slap came over and made Wu Yu spin. He fell to the ground with a snap, his face covered with black soil. In a blink of an eye, the big man's big foot stepped directly on Wu Yu's face, kicked Wu Yu's head into the dirt, and laughed. If I don't say your name, I will call you little loser from now on. Remember it clearly. From now on, we will all be your grandfathers, and we will all have to wait, otherwise, the end will be much worse than today. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Let him go, he's ignorant, let him go. Sun Wudao hurriedly pulled the big man's arm, but when the big man waved his hand, he staggered to the ground. Half of his life was broken. Haha, all the handymen were laughing. Wu Yu, are you okay? Sun Wudao lay down and pulled Wu Yu up. At this time, Wu Yu's face was covered with dirt, and his eyes were shocked. This moment was an unprecedented impact for him. I was humiliated by Immortal. In my memory, I once flew into the sky and escaped from the earth, capable of doing anything. But now, he is just a handyman. There was a boiling murderous intention in his chest, but his current fragile body could not support such a murderous intention at all, which caused him to fall into deeper chaos, and his eyes were blood red. Golden Cudgel. Ruyi Golden Cudgel. Why can't you follow my wishes until now? You can't even save me. Wu Yu gritted his teeth and trembled with anger. Do you have to force me to commit suicide? His head was so hot that he felt like his whole body was about to explode. However, the coldness of the Ruyi Golden Cudgel was like cold water poured on his head. Child, please don't mess around. You only have one life to live. Don't be impulsive. Don't compete with them. We old, weak, sick, and disabled people can't fight them, so just accept our fate. Accept your fate, accept your fate, accept your fate. These two words were like a nightmare. Wu Yu wanted to stand up and fight with them, but Sun Wuodeo hugged him at this time. He found that he didn't even have the strength to break away from Sun Wuodeo. What is sadness? This is the greatest tragedy. This impact pulled Wu Yu into the abyss, and thoughts of suicide kept appearing. Every time he fell into the deepest sleep, he would be awakened by nightmares, instead of the sweet dreams of Optimus Pillar, day after day, every day. Being bullied, a month has passed in the blink of an eye. I live like a grandson every day, I am bullied every day, and it is a nightmare every day. The indestructible body is still not there, and the day when Ghost G and the others arrive in Wudu is getting closer and closer. Now Wu Yu's face is pale every day and he is struggling. Sun Wuodeo is very worried about him, but there is no way. He tries to persuade him every day, but it has no effect. Once when he saw Su Yanli gave him an indifferent look. Wu Yu's whole body went cold, only then did he realize how big the gap was between him and her. Terrible, terrible, she is his senior sister, but without the Ruyi Golden Cudgel, where would the senior sister come from? Even when she saw Sidujin and the others again, she still had to kneel down with a group of handymen, so Wu Yu was humiliated all over. Scars. He couldn't stand this kind of day, and he was in fear and impatience every day. Uncle Sun, on this day, after returning from the fairy beast garden, Wu Yu knelt in front of Sun Wuodeo. He said anxiously, I know that you are probably the Monkey King. You are testing me. I know what I will do wrong, please give me the golden cudgel, give me all the inheritance, I know everything, and I will never let you lose your life this time. He raised his head eagerly to see Sun Wuodeo's reaction. He saw Sun Wuodeo's eyes were red and filled with tears. This made him very excited. He thought that he had revealed the truth and Sun Wuodeo could no longer hide it. Poor child, I know it's cruel, but don't talk nonsense, don't be crazy, Zhao Chuan and the others have gone too far. Sun Wuodeo stroked his head. Wu Yu felt cold all over after hearing this. After dinner, go to bed early. If you can meet an immortal, ask her for some medicine to relieve your soul-breaking poison. If you can practice normally, you can catch up with them in the future. Sun Wuodeo continued to sigh. Road. Wu Yu couldn't hear what he said. His whole body was cold. When he raised his head, the moon in the sky was like a cold eye, staring at him. It's time to fight hard. Let's choose tomorrow. Therefore, Wu Yu made a choice. Please go to the official account of Chenghua.com and vote for the madman. He is now ranked 10th. Voting ends on Valentine's Day, February 14th. For the fastest updated website of this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 976. In Wu Yu's Tao, adventure is a part of Tao. At this time, he was forced into a desperate situation, and it was time for him to think that he had to change. Time is running out. I have already missed too much time. If a lot of time cannot be stopped, and if the people who should be protected cannot be protected, then even if I finally get this immortal inheritance, what's the point? At night, the nightmare came again. I dreamed that Ghost Ji and Zhu Regicide arrived in Wudu, hoping to win over Wu Yu, but Wu Yu refused to obey and committed suicide at night. Then I dreamed that Shangyu and Daozong, the 7 ghosts of Shihei and the 9 demon immortals joined forces to conquer the Tongtian sword sect, causing all life here to be devastated and all dead and injured. Su Yanli, Feng Shuia, and others all died in the battle, and their bodies were dismembered by ghost cultivators and demons. Their souls were imprisoned, made into magic weapons, and fell into eternal pain. I woke up from nightmares in the middle of the night and could only keep my eyes open until dawn. In the dark night, you can feel your body's weakness even more. After not sleeping for a long time, you are already groggy and walking unsteadily. The more this happens, the more Wu Yu knows that something must change next. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Sun Wudao woke up just after dawn. As the handymen of the immortal beast garden, they need to feed and condition the cranes every day. After all, cranes are the best tools for immortals to travel. They are all clean and psychic, and they are not ordinary animals. You must be served as a master. In this kind of immortal sect, the status of the handyman is definitely not as good as that of Xian He. You can't offend Manager Zhao and the others today. They are playing tricks on you. There will always be a day when you get tired of it. I think they are almost tired of it. You must not contradict them. They kill people without blinking an eye, and the immortals usually don't see it. Don't bother to worry about it. After all, we, Yan Li, are the direct disciples of the Supreme Master. We all want to become immortals, so how can we take care of us? Sun Wudao said with emotion. Uncle Sun, don't worry. In the future, I will let you practice the way of the immortal, Wu Yu said seriously. After getting along with him for such a long time, he discovered that Sun Wudao was really immortal. Maybe he had guessed wrong. It was only by chance that he could possess the Ruyi golden cudgel. At least if I can return to the state I was in when I was in Nanyan Demon Continent, it won't be a problem for Sun Wudao to live for hundreds of years. Sun Wudao listened happily and sighed that Wu Yu was such a good boy. Obviously, he doesn't take this seriously. The more this happened, the more Wu Yu vowed in his heart that he would keep his word. Fairy Beast Garden. They are the earliest ones to arrive every day. The crane, which had rested all night, is already hungry. The old man and the young man cooperate with each other and work hard for more than an hour. Only when it is completely light does the other handymen arrive, and they are idle after they arrive. Watching Wu Yu and the others working, he would laugh at them from time to time. Zhao Chuan also arrived later. He was in a bad mood today. He probably drank too much yesterday. He hadn't completely sobered up yet. As soon as he came, he said, "It's really unlucky. I said good things to that Xiaolinger last night, and it turned out that you still don't pay attention to me. This stinky bitch really thinks she is a character, isn't she just a bit pretty? Boss, with your divine power, she actually dares to pretend to be innocent. Why don't you use some means to force the overlord to take advantage of her? There is nothing I can do. The stewards of the fairy garden are protecting her because they are afraid that if she makes trouble and goes to Shangxian, I will be doomed." The more Zhao Chuan thought about it, the angrier he became. At this time, a crane screamed, seeming a little unhappy, and pushed a person next to him flying out. Everyone was attracted, and when they took a closer look, it turned out to be the new Wu Yu. Wu Yu fell heavily to the ground, smashing into pieces. Sun Wudao quickly put down what he was doing, nervously came over to help Wu Yu, and muttered, "Why are you so careless? If you break a bone. Trash, have you hurt the crane? Are you looking for death?" As soon as Sun Wuodao finished speaking, Zhao Chuan came over with the aura of a burly man. He was already angry, but now he saw Wu Yu had hurt the crane, and the volcano erupted. As soon as he came up, he pushed Sun Wuodao away, took Wu Yu's lapel, and lifted it up. He stared at Wu Yu with a pair of tiger eyes and roared, "You trash, last time I almost killed the immortal crane, and now I'm so messy, do you believe I'll take off your head? Damn it, why have you been so unlucky lately? Could it be caused by being too close to this unlucky thing like you every day?" Bar. Sun Wuodao was so anxious that he quickly wanted to pull Zhao Chuan's arm and said urgently, "Manager Zhao, we know we are wrong, and this child also knows he is wrong. Please let Mr. Zhao let him go. Wu Yu, hurry up and tell Mr. Zhao apologize, Manager Zhao, I will kneel down for you." Sun Wuodao really knelt on the ground. His already aging body looked even thinner when he knelt down. Wu Yu saw that his eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes and everything was red. He has really had enough of such humiliating days. After all, he had reached the level of the emperor of the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, but now he was bullied by a third-rate servant, bowed to him repeatedly, and experienced all the humiliations in the world. It was a nightmare just to think about it. Wu Yu couldn't believe that he could endure it. Today, it was his intention to hurt the crane just now. He decided yesterday that he must put himself to death today, otherwise he will be a handyman for the rest of his life, and he will be humiliated as a pig and dog by these mortals for the rest of his life. He wanted to watch Sun Wuodao suffer with him. Wu Yu didn't say anything. He took out a sharp knife from his arms and stabbed Zhao Chuan in the chest. He used all his strength. And Zhao Chuan was holding him right in front of him, and he was about to slap Wu Yu a few times. For him, Wu Yu's current actions were simply beyond his expectations. A knife pierced the chest quickly. Go to hell. At this time, Wu Yu's eyes were scarlet and somewhat ferocious. Holy shit. Zhao Chuan never expected that he was also a top martial artist. Wu Yu's movement was still too slow for him. In the light of the carbide fire, his palm that was about to slap Wu Yu went down instantly and slapped Wu away. Use sharp knife, but even if it was very fast, the sharp knife still scratched his clothes and pulled out a shallow blood stain. When the sharp knife fell on the grass, there was total silence. Whether it was Sun Wuodao or other handymen, they were all stunned at this moment. Looking at this incredible scene, time seemed to have stopped at this moment. "I'll hum you to death." Zhao Chuan recovered from the shock and became furious. He slapped Wu Yu's head with enough force and hit Wu Yu's head. There was a sudden click. Wu Yu was dizzy and his head was torn apart. His skull was probably cracked again. The pain was almost suffocating. At this time, Wu Yu was whipped up and hit the ground so hard that his bones seemed to be scattered, and all his teeth were knocked out. The pain made him tremble all over, and the stinging pain on his head caused a strong dizziness and stinging. It was a feeling that the soul was about to fly out of the body. Death seemed like a whirlpool. Wu Yu felt as if he was being pulled by some force, as if he was about to leave this world in severe pain. "I will definitely be able to get the immortal inheritance and be reborn as a Jedi? Although it is different from last time, I can definitely get it." Wu Yu pressed the Ruyi golden cudgel on his chest. He was hit hard, but this time he didn't hate it, but filled with anticipation. However, he was soon dumbfounded, because he could not touch the existence of the Ruyi golden cudgel, and even though he stretched out his hand with great effort, he could not touch it. The Ruyi golden cudgel actually disappeared. This was troublesome. Wu Yu's whole world collapsed in an instant, because in this way, he and the golden cudgel would not be buried together, so how could he get the immortal inheritance? This instantly gave him an unprecedented huge blow, and he was completely stunned. At this time, his eyes could only open very little, and most of them were covered with blood. He lay on the grass, tried his best, and finally saw the Ruyi golden cudgel on the grass about a foot away from him. It was stuck diagonally on the grass. It was probably because of Zhao Chuan's slap just now, and when Wu Yu flew up, it fell on the grass. In despair, Wu Yu had a little hope, gritted his teeth, and crawled 10 feet away. Even ants could crawl this foot away, but to him, it felt like an insurmountable gap. Endless terror surrounded Wu Yu. He probably had never had such a desperate moment in his previous life. This trash is tired of living and actually hurt me. Seeing that he can't survive like this, just send him back to the west. Wu Yu could still see the feet of Zhao Chuan and a group of servants in the distance. Zhao Chuan reached out and grabbed Wu Yu's sharp knife. Wu Yu's eyes widened. He was only halfway up the climb and he couldn't hold the Ruyi golden cudgel at all. Quick, quick, he let out a heartbreaking, hysterical roar from the bottom of his heart. His head was congested with blood and his whole body was trembling. He relied on his will to move forward desperately, and his body pulled out large blood stains on the grass. All his hopes, everything he wants to save, are on that wishful golden cudgel. Looking at how hard it is for you to live, let's go. Don't look like you are unlucky all day long and bring us unlucky with you, Zhao Chuan's nightmare-like voice came. He made up his mind, Su Yanli would not care about such a trivial matter as missing a handyman. In Wu Yu's blurred vision, he saw Zhao Chuan flicking the sharp knife in his hand. At this time, he was still 5 feet away from the Ruyi golden cudgel. At this time, tears were about to burst out of his eyes. All the hard work were just 5 feet away. At this last moment, the most nightmarish moment, Wu Yu could only point to the Ruyi golden cudgel, hoping that Sun Wuodao would take care of it. When you found your body, you would have noticed the golden cudgel that you were pointing at. This is the only hope. The speed of the sharp knife was immeasurable, and Wu Yu would probably pierce him directly in an instant. The only surprise today was that the golden cudgel fell off, so whether he would live or die in the future, he felt that it all depended on Sun Wuodao. However, after a blink of an eye, he was not dead. There are only 8 days left until the voting deadline for the King of Internet articles, and the madman is still in the 10th place. There are only a few days left. Please go to the King of Internet articles to vote for the madman. Ranking 10th among online writers in the country is pretty good, and he is also one of the 12 main gods. However, the competition is terrifying and he cannot be overtaken. For the fastest updated website of this book, please visit yun/li/ge, or visit the website directly. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 977. Pa. Someone fell in front of Wu Yu. Wu Yu opened his blurry eyes. On the blood-stained grass, he saw an old man. The old man looked at him kindly, with a difficult smile, and said to Wu Yu, "Child, I will help you for the last time. Wake up." After that, he closed his eyes. That was Sun Wuodao. This old face and his words were deeply engraved in Wu Yu's heart with a bloody knife. Child. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. I will help you for the last time. Wake up. What is helping for the last time? What is, wake up? Wu Yu felt that his whole body was shaking. Sun Wuodao was dead, so he naturally blocked the knife for himself. It is estimated that he had thought about it before Zhao Chuan moved the knife. Exchange one life for another. Sun Wuodao, this old man, also wants to die. Let's fulfill his wish. Zhao Chuan's voice came from afar. Wu Yu was in chaos. Sun Wuodao's death and his words were like a huge beast, rushing into his mind. He didn't want Sun Wuodao to die. He had a chance to be reborn this time. His wish was to let Sun Wuodao live 100 years. He didn't want to have any regrets. But this time, he still died, and he blocked the knife for himself. This is what Wu Yu can see. But Sun Wudeo's last words were invisible. It was another feeling. The last few words, "wake up," kept echoing in Wu Yu's mind, as if countless people were yelling in his ears, "Wake up, wake up." He didn't fall asleep. How could he wake up? Wu Yu was in pain and puzzled. He was confused now, staring at Sun Wudeo's face in a daze, motionless. Zhao Chuan and his group surrounded him. Sun Wudeo was dead, so they had to bury him as soon as possible so that the Immortals could not see him. Even if Sun Wudeo blocked him, Wu Yu would probably not escape his fate. At this time, Zhao Chuan passed by and saw the Ruyi Jinggu Bang that Wu Yu was pointing at. "Are you pointing at this thing?" He picked up the Ruyi Jinggu Bang, squatted in front of Wu Yu, and shook the iron stick in front of Wu Yu. He couldn't help laughing and said, "Seeing that you hate me so much, do you want this thing? Do you want it to be buried with you?" Wu Yu's mind was very confused, with many sounds and pictures stirring. He couldn't tell the feeling, but at this time his instinct told him that before he died, he must get the Ruyi Jinggu Bang. "You wish, this broken copper and iron can be regarded as a treasure, it's really stupid." Zhao Chuan laughed. He held the Ruyi Jinggu Bang with both hands, and with his strength comparable to dozens of wild horses, he exerted force with both arms, and suddenly, he broke the Ruyi Jinggu Bang. Crack! The Ruyi Jinggu Bang, which Wu Yu regarded as a holy weapon, broke into two pieces at this time. Zhao Chuan and the servants laughed loudly. He stood up and threw it hard. With his strength, the Ruyi Jinggu Bang flew at least a few miles away. Everyone laughed continuously. And Wu Yu was struck by lightning. His last hope was completely gone. The Ruyi Jinggu Bang was not only broken, but also flew far away, completely away from Wu Yu. His dream of inheriting the immortal was no longer possible. Wu Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. He understood more deeply than ever in his memory what real despair was. When he saw Sun Wudeo die and the golden hoop was broken, and he was lingering on, he knew that this was the greatest pain in the world. At this time, the pain in his heart was rolling. He couldn't believe that the immortal inheritance would be broken. Impossible, impossible. His mind was even more confused. All the blows came one after another. At this moment, he didn't have the strongest heart. It was impossible to hold on. Wu Yu felt that his body might not be dead yet, but his heart was about to die, especially when he saw Sun Wudeo's body. "Wake up, wake up." At this most chaotic and miserable time, Wu Yu suddenly remembered what he said. Thinking of that moment, his expression seemed a little different. Remembering that he said that he would help him one last time. In his mind and memory, the peerless Monkey King, the 8,000 heavenly palaces, the 10,000 hells, countless ghosts, gods, immortals, and monsters bowed down, and the blood-red cloak flew for billions of miles. The golden hoop was broken. Despair was coming. However, the words "wake up" made Wu Yu feel more and more that something was wrong. At this critical moment of death, he kept thinking, and many pictures flashed by. At this time, he gradually saw those pictures clearly. It seemed to be a huge palace at the bottom of the lake. Occasionally, he saw blue bats and heard two words, called Huang 11. Huang 11, who is it? An image flashed through his mind again. It was a peerless beauty wearing an orange dress, with countless demons kneeling down below. "Wake up, I'm not asleep, but..." Zhao Chuan's coldness and the vastness of this world pulled Wu Yu back to this world, but the images flashing in his mind were questioning everything. Sun Wudeo's words were constantly replaying, the voice was getting louder and louder, and every word was shaking his body and mind, making him clearer and clearer about those images as he got older. "Forget it, I won't kill you. If you die, we won't have any fun. Sun Wudeo, bury him." Zhao Chuan and the others sneered. "Come on, give this waste a pee and wash the blood off his body," Zhao Chuan called out, and the servants came over with a smile, surrounded Wu Yu, and were unbuttoning his pants. This was humiliation and pain, but at this moment, Wu Yu was not so afraid of this scene, because at this time, he saw something new. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Through the deep lake water, you can see the depths of the lake bottom. That eye, Wu Yu saw that eye, golden and cold, staring at him. Wow! He suddenly raised his head and was shocked to see that the thing above his head that illuminated everything was not the sun, but a golden eye. Those golden eyes were extremely hot, staring at him. The palace of the heavenly demon emperor. Ancient demon with golden eyes. These 8 characters roared in Wu Yu's mind, and he remembered that the 6-armed demon ape did not kill him, and he entered the heavenly demon emperor's mansion. Boom! Everything in front of me is shattering. I'm not dead, I'm Wu Yu. Everything in front of him was shattering. At this moment, he suddenly saw that there were no scars on his body at all. He felt the majestic power of his body. It was the UN power of the Purple Mansion, the indestructible body of the 6 realms heavenly King Buddha, and everything he had. The magic of divine passage is clear, but Xuanhuan and the others are just humble mortals. Wu Yu stood up and glared. Xuanhuan and the others were wiped out in disbelief. Impossible. How could you have such power? Even when they were completely wiped out, they could still say such words. This was the power of the golden-eyed ancient demon. When he saw the vast world in front of him shattering in front of Wu Yu's eyes, Wu Yu's face was calm. Sun Wudao's body was gone. He looked around in the distance, feeling shocked. This is the real illusion. He could easily see through Nanshan Wanjiao's illusion back then. Compared with today's peak and terrifying illusion, Nanshan Wanjiao's illusion was simply a child's trick. This illusion almost pushed Wu Yu to the point of collapse, his body not dead but his heart dying first. He estimated that if he continued like this, he would die in that illusion. Even if he could finally come out of the illusion, he would already be a useless person. Everything was so real, and the modification of Wu Yu's memory was so clever. Every flower and grass in it was real. The days and months of the past few months had passed by Wu Yu bit by bit. Even waiting for dawn in the middle of the night, every moment is so real. Coming out of it, Wu Yu still remembered all the details, including Sun Wudao's care, Zhao Chuan's, the fear of the entire huge world, and the inexplicable thought of rebirth. These thoughts are all golden. The ancient demon Tong gave it to him. If it weren't for him, only then did Wu Yu understand what it meant to help you for the last time. Wake up. These were the words of Sun Wudao, maybe the words of Ruyi Golden Cudgel, maybe the words of the Monkey King, which made Wu Yu burst into tears. He finally felt his presence again. Perhaps, he has always been there and has never left my side. If it hadn't been for his help this time, I would have died in this illusion. What kind of existence does he have? Why should he be passed down to me? What is he doing? Where? Wu Yu's mind was pounding and he couldn't think clearly, but at this moment, he was extremely eager to follow his footsteps. I want to cultivate immortality, I want to become an immortal, and one day, I want to understand him. I want to know the secrets of all these, I want to know what kind of existence he is, whether he is still alive, whether he is still in heaven. Wu Yu's heart surged. All the images of Sun Wudao in this illusion made him so unforgettable that he even longed to return to the Blue Mountains to see him again. You finally woke up. It's not easy. I shouted until my voice became hoarse. Not only you, but also your clone was in a half-dead state in the fusion tower. It seems that this illusion has directly attacked you. The two souls at this time, Minglong's voice finally appeared in his ears. She never disappeared. It was then when I heard her voice that it felt so real. Wu Yu took a deep breath and said, "This test of the golden-eyed ancient demon is really terrifying. Are everyone trapped in an illusion?" He started looking around. Minglong said, "Yes, everyone is similar to you. Even the Phoenix Lord. You are the first person to be liberated from it, which is not bad. You were in the Golden Ocean before, and when you were liberated from that in a moment, we're here. Around here, Wu Yu's eyes widened when he saw that this was actually the ancient demon lake. And it's at the bottom of the ancient demon lake. However, there was no heavenly demon emperor's mansion under his feet, just the bottom of a muddy lake. The heavenly demon emperor's mansion disappeared in this ancient demon lake. Am I out? Wu Yu asked depressedly. No, I think this may be the second test, Ming Long reminded. Wu Yu instantly became alert. He warned himself, from now on, everything I see may not be true, including this ancient demon lake, including Ming Long. Wu Yu did not dare to try the first test just now for a second time. All the despair in life appeared there. However, this was indeed a huge test of the Tao, and after Wu Yu passed the test, he found that he was on the Tao. Great progress has been made, and the Yuan Shen has approached the 6th level of the Yuan Shen realm. This can be considered a gain. But Wu Yu knew that this might not be true. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 978. If he used the asking God pill again at this time, Wu Yu estimated that his realm would be promoted to the 6th level of the Yuan Shen realm. He doesn't know if others have gone through the same test as he just now, or if his own inner demons are too heavy. After successfully passing the test, there is a breakthrough in Taoism. This is relatively rare and very lucky. Of course, it also shows that this test is indeed a great test for Wu Yu. But the problem is that in this ancient demon lake, in a place like this, Wu Yu is not sure that it will be a safe environment. Maybe the second test has begun. It would still be very dangerous to stop and expand Zifuyuanli at this time. So, he hesitated for a moment and decided not to be in a hurry, but to carefully observe his surroundings. Now, at least the sky-swallowing body is still in the floating tower, and it is normal and can come out at any time, which means that this second test should not have begun yet. It is surrounded by the bottom of the ancient demon lake, but there is no heavenly demon emperor's mansion. Apart from that, there seems to be no difference from the normal ancient demon lake. Wu Yu first checked around and found nothing, but he knew that this was definitely not the real ancient demon lake, but inside the heavenly demon emperor's mansion. If it was the real ancient demon lake, there should be many more outside. The devil is right. There is nothing at the bottom of the lake. I wonder what will be above it? Since it imitates the outside world, doesn't it mean that there is the entire Jambu world outside? Wu Yu thought it was unlikely, so he first separated a clone, adopted a more cautious attitude, and prepared to go up and have a look. At this moment, there was movement behind him. He turned around in shock, only to see a distortion at the bottom of the lake. Suddenly, a door seemed to be opened. Inside the door was a golden ocean. At this time, a figure was pushed out by the golden ocean. When the man arrived at the ancient demon lake, the gate was quickly closed, and the ancient demon lake returned to calm. The person who appeared had a graceful figure, long flowing hair, dignified and holy. Although his eyes were closed, he could still feel a sense of pride from the inside out. He was wearing an orange dress, fiery red gauze, and light gold. The boots, soaked in the lake water, sparkled, but they were still not as attractive as the radiance of the face and skin. That's right, it turned out to be Nangang Wei. Wu Yu was shocked. He knew that he should have been like this just now. After coming out of the first test, Nangang Wei should also have passed the test. I had Uncle Sun's help to pass the test, and the process was quite difficult. How could she be so fast? Phoenix Lord and Demon Lord have not passed the test yet. She can't be stronger than Phoenix Lord. That's why she was extremely surprised to see Nangang Wei. The test of the illusion may trigger the memory in your soul and disturb what you think. The more profound the things in your memory, the more severe the test may be. And this Nangang Wei, before going in, my memory has been tampered with, and it's possible that there's nothing profound about it at all, so I'll just relax. Of course, this is my aunt's guess, and it may not be accurate. Wu Yu felt that Ming Long's explanation should make sense. Otherwise, he really couldn't find any reason to explain why she could pass the test so quickly. He experienced the test personally and knew very well that in fact, the test set by the golden-eyed ancient demon could not see his memory, but it could disrupt and create chaos, creating the effect that Wu Yu experienced in the test. Wu Yu had too many thrilling experiences, especially regarding the inheritance of immortals, which is why this test was so terrifying. Nangongwei raised her long eyelashes at this time, and her eyes slowly opened at the bottom of the lake. When she woke up, the first thing she saw was Wu Yu not far away in front of her. She came out too suddenly, it was difficult for Wu Yu to hide, and he suddenly came into view. "You are so brave. Last time you kidnapped me, my mother let you go, but you still dare to follow the heavenly demon emperor's mansion." Nangongwei's eyes were filled with flames as she glared at Wu Yu. It seems that she was not very affected by the illusion, otherwise she would not have paid attention to Wu Yu as soon as it appeared. And when Wu Yu appeared just now, he still recalled the test in shock. Nangongwei was also observing the surroundings secretly. She found that she and Wu Yu were the only ones here, so she restrained her arrogance a little. She looked around in confusion, not knowing where she was. Is this still the heavenly demon emperor's mansion? She was probably a little worried. After scolding him, she took the initiative to ask Wu Yu. "I guess, it is estimated that only the two of us have passed the first test." Wu Yu felt a little complicated about her now. He planned to return to the Yanhuang ancient territory after leaving the Tianyao emperor's mansion. Now he can't change it? Nangongwei also made a decision not to disturb her anymore. Nangongwei stared at him again, lightly parted her lips, and said, "I asked you just now, why did you sneak into the heavenly demon emperor's mansion? But you didn't take me and my mother seriously? If I hadn't seen you there last time, my mother will not let you go for the sake of abandoning me in front of the six-armed demon ape." Wu Yu waved his hand and said, "The ancient demon lake is too lively. I was nearby just now. I just came closer to see the excitement. Who knew I might be sucked in? If you say this, she will believe it. Maybe it was her last performance in front of the six-armed demon ape that made her feel a little better." She was no longer aggressive towards Wu Yu. After all, in such a terrifying environment, she subconsciously wanted someone to rely on, or to join forces to fight against this hazardous environment. "You're such a strange person. Last time you saved me from the Black Blade Demon King and then captured me, but you didn't want me to die. You also claimed to know me and made up a strange identity for me. Are you deliberately trying to get close to me?" Her smart eyes scanned Wu Yu's body. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu glanced at her. Under the lake bottom, although it was dim, she was still radiant, especially her fair and snow-like skin, which was crystal clear and smooth, as if surrounded by fairy spirit. Her bright eyes, white teeth, willowy eyebrows, and black hair were all, it was very touching and had the noble feel of the Phoenix Princess. Wu Yu understood again that she was different from before. With pure eyes, he asked, "I didn't say the name Nangongwei, but you told others first. Is there such a coincidence in the world?" Nangongwei shook her head and said, "It turns out that you made up the lie after hearing this name. This name suddenly came to me. That's because I had just entered nirvana and my mind was not very clear. Now I know it, naturally. Know that my name is Huang 11, not Nangongwei. Under the current situation, the Phoenix Lord might pass the first level test at any time." Wu Yu felt that it was not very realistic for her to be reminded of Dongsheng Shenzhou here. He thought for a moment and said, "It's okay if you don't believe it, but please listen to me, remember what I say, and be a little on guard against your mother. At least as far as I know, You originally had your own my parents. It is true that Huangzun has changed you and made you an eternal phoenix, reaching the sky in one step. This is indeed true, but she is not your real mother after all, so you must be on guard against others. When Wu Yu said this, her face became very cold, and she said with a contemptuous attitude, I thought you were a pretty good person, maybe a friend you could make, but I didn't expect you are still so cunning at heart. You still want to make up nonsense to destroy the relationship between me and my mother. If I tell my mother what you said, I will have you stripped and burned into ashes. She didn't believe a word of Wu Yu's words. Seeing that she now hated him again, Wu Yu knew that he was still far behind compared to that Huangzun. Whatever you say now is in vain, forget it. Wu Yu shook his head. He didn't want to say any more. At this time, his clone had reached the lake. After leaving the lake, there was an extremely vast world outside. It was almost exactly the same as the real world. It seemed that Nanyan Demon Continent was still so huge. Wu Yu even doubted that he could return to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom to have a look here. However, it is estimated that there is no one in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom at this time. Anyway, he didn't believe it. He wanted to get out of the heavenly demon emperor's mansion now. Son, he looked around and saw the same thing everywhere. But when he looked up, he saw that what was hanging in the sky was not a scorching sun, but a golden eye, burning with golden flames. Above the sky, staring at the ancient demon lake can be regarded as staring at Wu Yu's clone. This is indeed within the heavenly demon emperor's mansion. Wu Yu is now roughly sure that the second test may not be at the bottom of the lake, but in the golden eyes. This test is too terrible. It is really difficult to get the two treasures of this golden-eyed ancient demon. I guess there is no possibility. Wu Yu is not pessimistic. He passed the first test first, but he understands that this place is still it was much scarier than he imagined, and the test pattern couldn't be the same, and he couldn't always be in the lead. However, I really don't want to give in. This is probably the top treasure, and it may even be more valuable than my floating life tower. Wu Yu sighed inwardly. At this time, Nangang Wei had just finished her threatening words. New fluctuations appeared in the ancient demon lake. Another person came out of the test. Wu Yu took a closer look and saw that it was Nanshan Wanjiao. Unexpectedly, he also passed the test of this illusion. He is proficient in illusions, and he may have the help of Grand Marshal Tianpeng. It is normal to be faster, but judging from his face, the test he has endured is probably terrible. When Nanshan Wanjiao opened his eyes and saw Wu Yu, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. How? Wu Yu asked. It's terrifying, it's too terrifying. The illusion technique of this golden-eyed ancient demon can be regarded as a model for our generation. It is truly a shocking art. From his compliment, we could tell that what he had experienced was also very difficult, which made Wu Yu a little worried about yet 11. Vote, vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 979. Wu Yu estimated that this first test may not be equally difficult for everyone. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Maybe the richer the experience, the more difficult it will be. However, it is estimated that those demon kings and demon lords have strong souls and profound Taoist realms, and their resistance will be quite strong. After Nanshan Wanjiao came out, Wu Yu had just finished communicating with him. The two were discussing what to do if the demon kings and demon lords appeared here next. Unexpectedly, there were many people next. Passed the first test one after another and appeared in this ancient demon lake. Wu Yu found that he still slightly underestimated the Dao realm of others. Obviously, these demon kings and demon lords and their souls were also quite powerful. After all, their realms were all above the 5th level of the Three Disasters Dao realm. The Dao realm is stable and powerful. They have passed the test and do not need help from outsiders. After looking at the moon at Nanshan, Huangzun appeared. When Nanshan Wanjiao saw it, he immediately became invisible and hid. This was the only way. Wu Yu was also ready to escape from here and use the somersault cloud. The only trouble was that he was worried that Yezixi would come out after he left. The three of them are the only outsiders to the current Nanyan Empire. Stop hiding. I've seen you guys nearby unexpectedly. As soon as the Phoenix Lord appeared, he set his sights on Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao. Nanshan Wanjiao's magical power of without a trace in the sky could not escape her eyes. Moreover, the scariest thing was that she saw Wu Yu and the others while she was outside. This made Wu Yu realize that there was really no need to hide. It seems that this Phoenix Lord has no intention of killing him. Therefore, he and Nanshan Wanjiao were planning to flee, but now they had to bite the bullet and stay where they were. After Huangzun, the thousand-eyed demon tree also passed the test, and then the demon bone demon lord also came out. Judging from this situation, it's only a matter of time before other demon lords follow suit. Huangzun's scorching eyes were much scarier than Nangongwei's. At this time, Nangongwei saw her and went directly to her mother. This made Wu Yu's heart beat faster. After all, if she complained, Huangzun might still take action against them, or at least punish them. However, as soon as Nangongwei finished speaking, she glanced at Wu Yu one more time, but did not continue speaking. Instead, she acted coquettishly towards the Phoenix Lord and said, "Mother, you have appeared. The test just now was terrifying. I thought I would never see you again." When Huangzun only looked at her, his eyes were kind. She nodded and comforted her, "It's okay if you know it's a lie. How could I make you worried and scared?" As expected, other demon lords arrived one after another. After Huangzun comforted Nangongwei, he looked at Wu Yu and said, "You two have passed the test before us. It seems that I have underestimated you. It seems that I have underestimated you. There is a lot of good fortune in you. If I kill you two boys, will I gain a lot?" These words can make Nanshan Wanjiao's hair stand on end. "Mom, I think it's enough to get rid of these two annoying guys. After all, they saved me," Nangongwei said. Wu Yu discovered that although she seemed a little arrogant at this time, she was still kind. But why did they kill innocent people indiscriminately and take away their heads from the red fire demon monkey? It's puzzling. Huangzun's eyes changed, and she didn't know what decision she was making. Her eyes were like whirlpools of flames. Suddenly, her voice rang in Wu Yu's ears. Wu Yu confirmed that she was talking to him alone, and no one else could hear her. She said, "What is your relationship with ancient Emperor Yan and Huang?" Wu Yu was shocked when she heard this. It was only the second time she saw herself, so how could she ask herself such a question? Could it be that he has some mark of the ancient Yanhuang Emperor on his body? "Why do you say that?" Wu Yu asked quickly. Huangzun stopped talking. She stared at Wu Yu a few more times and said, "It's nothing. Think I'm talking too much? This heavenly demon emperor's mansion is the territory of my Nanyan Empire. You shouldn't come in." Wu Yu fell silent. He figured out the key. It seems that she didn't attack me last time, and she didn't mean to kill me this time, all because she thought I had some kind of relationship with ancient Emperor Yanhuang. But apart from the inexplicable imperial edict of the ancient emperor, I don't seem to have any relationship with the ancient emperor. When the ancient emperor killed the ancient demon god, I never felt that he noticed me. Why did she think so when she saw me? And when I expressed my confusion, she stopped mentioning it, as if she didn't expect that I wouldn't know about it. So, does she fear ancient Emperor Yanhuang? After inferring this, Wu Yu's hair stood on end. Could it be that ancient Emperor Yanhuang has always been paying attention to me in some way, or is involved with me, and it is the deepest secret? No one knows, only the Phoenix Master sees it. there is a terrifying existence that may always be observing him in the dark, but never makes any movement. This is indeed quite scary, especially since Wu Yu has so many treasures. He estimates that the ancient Emperor Yanhuang may be tempted. For example, the inheritance of Immortals. This conjecture shocked him like never before, and he felt like his soul was trembling. At this time, when he looked around, it seemed as if there were the eyes of the Yanhuang ancient emperor around him. Ever since the ancient emperor's imperial edict, Wu Yu knew that he seemed to be inexplicably related to the ancient Yanhuang emperor. If it weren't for him, how could he have become the envoy of the emperor and hang out in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom? It's like a cricket, and he might be teasing me, observing me. Wu Yu felt a huge pressure. He had no idea about the real purpose of the Yanhuang ancient emperor. This is terrible. I advise you to stop messing around and surrender to the Yanhuang ancient emperor directly. Such an existence is like an immortal. It's impossible to fight him. After listening to his thoughts, Ming Long was dejected. It can be heard that she also felt a sense of fear, and her voice was trembling. Usually she is fearless. Tell me, if he really observes me, then what is his purpose? If he knew that I have the inheritance of an immortal, shouldn't he take it away immediately? Wu Yu felt gloomy in his heart. I know nothing, I want to die now, just one step at a time. Grandma's egg, I raised you with so much hardship. You were targeted by such an existence. I, Ming Long, am really unlucky, she almost cried. At this time, she couldn't count on it. However, Wu Yu calmed down first. After all, this could only be an invisible eye, but at least he was not dead yet. The real trouble might happen in the future. I said, you shouldn't come in here, Huang Zun emphasized with a sharp gaze. Wu Yu sobered up a little. He knew that it was more important to solve the problem in front of him. He knew that Huang Zun guessed that he had a relationship with the ancient Emperor Yanhuang, so she definitely didn't have the courage to kill him. At least he was safe. So he was a little bolder and said, I didn't expect to come in, and now I'm going out. I know I shouldn't come in, but there's nothing I can do now. Huang Zun said, I know, so you stay here and don't move. I remember that there are 3 of you, and none of you are allowed to leave this ancient demon lake. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you. This is her order. When I get the 2 treasures, the Tianyao Emperor's mansion will naturally let everyone out. You don't have to worry. At that time, I advise you to leave the Nanyan Empire quickly. Huang Zun spoke word by word, like a hammer, hitting Wu Yu heavily. Okay, Wu Yu nodded. He couldn't do anything. Now not only the demon lords had appeared, but also several demon kings had come out. Any one of them could wipe out Wu Yu's army. He could only listen to what Huang Zun said. He glanced at Nanggong Wei, who glared at him, meaning that he should shut up, talk less, stay here, and leave quickly after the end. At this time, Huang Zun and the others probably wanted to go up and take a look, and Wu Yu's worries were finally put down, because Yazixi was also freed from the test. She was pale, trembling all over, and her hair was wet. She was sweating all over. After finally opening her eyes and seeing Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao, she was stunned for a long time, and finally burst into tears, rushed into Wu Yu's arms, and cried bitterly. Brother Yu, I dreamed that after my parents died, you all died, and I was the only one who lost everything and was still alive. Yazixi cried. You should understand that this is the first test of the Tianyao Emperor's mansion. You have passed it, which means it is different now. Wu Yu stroked her head with a gentle look. Well, I also felt that he appeared and helped me, otherwise, I really couldn't get out, Yazixi said excitedly. Wu Yu knew that the he she was talking about must be the general who rolled up the curtain. This is a good thing. Seeing that her mood had calmed down a little, Wu Yu was relieved. Hey, little girl, are you secretly in love with your brother Yu? Why do you only hug him and not me? He has taken all the advantage. Nanshan Wanjiao laughed on the side. Brother Nanshan, you can't die either. He just wanted to liven up the atmosphere, but he didn't expect Yezixi to really hug him and wipe her tears on him. Go away, brother, I don't like women, don't take advantage of me. Nanshan Wanjiao pushed her away and patted his clothes seriously. His words made Yezixi laugh. Everyone knew that he, Nanshan Wanjiao, was a handsome man who couldn't walk when he saw Isao. How could he not like women? Wu Yu also laughed. This guy is too shameless. However, it can be seen that the three of them have integrated into this group. In the long run, their feelings will be stronger than real gold. In this terrible and huge world, the three of them are the inheritors of Immortals. Wu Yu believes that they will definitely work together to overcome many difficulties. Suddenly, he found someone staring at him. Wu Yu looked up and saw that it was Nangang Wei. She was leaving the bottom of the ancient demon lake with Huangzun and others. Her eyes were a little strange. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 980. Chapter 973 Argument. It's a big loss now. We can only stay here. The treasures are all at their advantage, Nanshan Wanjiao said dejectedly when he saw Huangzun leading the people from the Nanyan Empire out of the ancient demon lake. It's pretty good to be standing here alive. There were thousands of people who came in at that time, but now there are only a few dozen people left. There are still many people left in the same place, not knowing whether to live or die, thinking of what happened before. Yezixi is still a little scared after the encounter. The Phoenix Lord and the Demon Lords were really not something that the three young men could contend with. In addition, the Demon Emperor's mansion was inherently dangerous, so Wu Yu could only stay here at this time. However, when he thought about the two super treasures mentioned by the ancient demon with golden eyes, which were said to be wanted by demon gods, but such good things were easily taken away by others, Wu Yu felt a little unwilling to say the least. So actually, he is also thinking of a way. I wonder what this second test is. They are silent now, but are they going through this second test? Wu Yu asked. At this time, half an hour has passed. Would you like to go up and have a look? Nanshan Wanjiao was also unwilling. It's not that easy to make him give up. Wu Yu estimated the time. If there was a second test, they would have endured it by now. At least it wouldn't be a big deal if they went up to take a look. He believed that even Phoenix Lord would not have it so easy when faced with the test of this golden-eyed ancient demon. Okay, Wu Yu first let a clone sneak up and hide under the surface of the ancient demon lake. After arriving at this position, he looked up and saw the entire huge world outside, except for the sun that changed into the golden eyes. Other than that, there is nothing strange at the moment. Huangzun and the others are no longer here. I don't know where I went. Why aren't they here? Wu Yu was very surprised. He used his clones to confirm that Huangzun and the others were not nearby. They seemed to have lost their vitality before the three of them came up. Brother Yu, I'm a little worried. Lalanlan also came in, but it was obviously treated alone by the test and hasn't come out yet. Yezixi was still looking at them nervously as they went up. Where it appears. It was indeed a bit harder during that test, but I guess after they get the treasure, they can all leave here. The golden-eyed ancient demon can't trap everyone here who can't get the treasure. Nanshan Wanjiao comforted her. Yezixi thought so too. Meow, unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Wan He Cat appeared, and it also withstood the test. When it came out, it also had a dull look on its face, looking around in horror. It wasn't until it saw Yezixi that with a plaintive cry, she threw herself into Yezixi's arms. Lalan, I'm afraid I'll never see you again. Woohoo! Yezixi rubbed her face against it. Meow meow, the lazy cat also purred, as if he had gone through life and death. It is a god of all things, and its memory should be simpler, so its appearance is not beyond Wu Yu's expectations. Go up and have a look. His clone's field of vision was limited, so it was normal to see clearly, So the three of them went up. When Wu Yu came to the lake, he used his fiery eyes to look in the direction of the sun, that is, the golden pupils. Before the clone noticed that there seemed to be something in that place, and now with the golden eyes, he could see it clearly at a glance. What's there? Noticing Wu Yu's gaze, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yazixi were both looking, but they couldn't see clearly. It seems like white stairs, or are they connected together, with one platform higher than the other? It seems like there are 5 levels in total. The last and highest step looks like you can step into the golden eyes. Wu Yu said. There are only 5 white steps leading to the golden eyes. Each step is very big, right? Wu Yu looked carefully and replied, yes, each step can hold thousands of people. Because it was so big, Wu Yu thought it looked like 5 connected platforms, one higher than the other, with the highest one leading to the sun. Nanshan Wanjiao clapped his hands and said, that's it? Obviously, the location of the golden eyes is the hiding place of the treasure. And the 5 white steps may be the place for the second test. Then in the golden eyes there must be a third test within the pupil. This is his guess. But Wu Yu also felt that this should be the truth. He nodded. But, where are they? Are they still on the steps? Or have they passed the second test and entered the golden pupils? Yazixi's eyes widened, but she couldn't see clearly. Wu Yu was actually wondering about this question, because there seemed to be no one on the steps. He said, there is no one on the 5 steps. Maybe they have all passed. Enter the golden eyes. That's the case, but it's also possible that we are not allowed to see them from outside. Maybe they are still inside. The first test is so complicated, I don't believe that they are capable of passing the second test so quickly. Not a single one is left. Nanshan Wanjiao looked suspicious. It makes sense. Wu Yu looked deeply. There was an adventurous spirit in Nanshan Wanjiao's eyes, and he said to Wu Yu, this is our best chance. Regardless of whether they are inside or not, judging from the first test, everyone should be able to alone. We can take a risk. Relying on our immortal inheritance, maybe we can pass it faster than them. When the time comes, we will go to the third test as soon as possible. If everything goes well, we may get it faster than them. That treasure. After hearing this, Yazixi quickly shook her head and said, it's better to say goodbye. This is too risky. We may not be as fast as them. Not to mention that we may not be able to pass the test. Even if we pass the test, there is a high possibility of meeting them. If Huangzun sees us, it will be very troublesome. She has warned us that if she sees us again, she will never let us go easily. After all, the other demon masters are hers now. She is her only competitor here. She will never allow us to destroy her treasure hunt. Nanshan Wanjiao shook his head and said, little girl, taking a risk is taking a risk. There is no risk. You have to consider that if you hope to succeed this time, the harvest will be great. But if something happens, the losses will be huge. Yazixi questioned. There were differences between the two of them, and they almost started to quarrel. Wu Yu is now the one in the middle. When the two of them have differences, they are all looking at Wu Yu. In fact, their two ways are not quite the same. Yazixi is slightly purer, just like the dark night. Although it is dark, there is no variegated color. She also knew that the baby this time was very important, but she was not willing to believe in Nanshan Wanjiao's adventurous way of not being sure and relying entirely on imagination. The road to Wanjiao in Nanshan is full of emotions and desires. He is intoxicated in the world of mortals, practicing in the world of mortals, and experiencing all kinds of intrigues. The things he wants to get and the places he longs for are the desires in his heart. It is difficult for him to hold down himself and truly think about the possibilities. I think wealth can be found in danger. This is a great opportunity. If you waste it, you will regret it for a long time. Nanshan Wanjiao frowned. 3 people, becoming a team, have their own ideas, and there is no way there will be no conflicts, so Wu Yu thinks this is normal. He was also thinking about the possibility of success at this time. This is based on one point. Huangzhun will not kill me, he will at most punish me. But that is not necessarily the case. This has something to do with ancient Emperor Yanhuang, and Wu Yu couldn't explain the reason. But he knew the possibility of snatching things from Huangzhun's hands. If it were him, he could go on by himself without having to think too much, but with the two of them, he would have to think about it. Wu Yu looked at them. He thought for a while and said, then let's do it like this. Because I am sure that Huangzhun will not kill me, so I also want to try to grab it. Another point is that there are actually all kinds of uncontrollable things here, and Huangzhun also. We can't control everything that happens in the Demon Emperor's mansion. If we really encounter them inside, it can be said that we didn't come in intentionally, but the Demon Emperor's mansion got us involved. Huangzhun is not sure whether it is true or not. Of course, her attitude carries certain risks, but with this statement, the risk can indeed be reduced. He doesn't favor anyone, he just considers it from a rational point of view. Finally, he looked at the golden eyes and said, although it is very difficult, I think the second test is not yet at Huangzhun's bottom line. We can still operate above her bottom line again. If we are lucky, maybe after passing the second test and not meeting her, we can directly participate in the third time. But if we meet her after the second test, we must surrender and give up completely, and there will be no more action, otherwise she will be really cruel. Of course, it is also possible that we will not be able to pass the second test. In that case, there is no need to consider this. The key now is that you have the confidence to withstand this. A second test. In fact, Wu Yu felt that compared to Huangzhun, the test here made him more in awe. Especially after the first time. Nanshan Wanjiao said, although I felt a little shadowed after experiencing it for the first time, I have nothing to be afraid of now that Nangong Wei has gone up. Compared with the last time, I am at least more prepared this time and know what is going on. Moreover, I also believe that the Shangbaokan Golden Rake will bless me. Wu Yu was probably leaning towards Nanshan Wanjiao's adventure this time, so he was more concerned about Yezixi's thoughts. Yezixi's eyes became firmer at this time, and she said, in that case, it's time to try again. As for this test, I plan to merge with Lalan Mao and go in together to see if it will be better, although it is a bit scary. But last time, I also saw the demon subduing treasure staff again, which is of certain benefit to my communication with it. Brother Yu, I trust your judgment. It should be Wu Yu's more reasonable analysis that made her tempted.